Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Well, after the way you fouled this up, I've been sitting here for an hour now.
Technology's just like cars. When they're working, man, it's phenomenal. When it doesn't work, yeah, it's never fun.
But I mean, I don't understand it. I'll go back and revisit all the points I made when you failed to tell me we're on the air. Okay.
I failed to know we were not on the air.
You're just killing us. Just killing us. It's unbelievable. So, here's the deal. We're talking about the teams that can make the college football playoff right now. What's made it exciting is that each week now is bringing with it games that are with stakes. In the college football playoff days, first of all, in the BCS days, it was really down to 3 or 4 teams that could make the final 2. With 4, maybe now we're talking about maybe 7 teams, but usually 6. Well, now we're talking about 20.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Maybe 2-3 weeks ago, we're talking 25. Right? And the bottom line is we just had an Alabama-LSU game. That was an elimination game, which Alabama, to its credit, went to Baton Rouge and won with relative ease. So LSU with 3 losses, they're out. In terms of the playoff, they're out.
Absolutely.
Because right now, between the undefeated pool, automatic, 1-loss pool, I think you're in great shape.
Yeah, at the very least in the playoff.
2-loss pool, you're in the opinion pool.
Yep.
All right, now, who'd you play? Where'd you play him? Who are your wins? What are your losses? You know, you start getting into all that, the opinion. Okay?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think the other part of it, and that's the difference between this year and previous years. You had 2 losses. A lot of teams weren't even in the opinion part of it. You had 2 losses aside from the year LSU won the championship. You were probably out of the playoffs.
Right.
And that's I think the biggest difference now.
So look at the Big Ten.
Yeah.
The Big Ten right now, there's no doubt who the 4 candidates are. The 4 candidates are simple. Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana.
Right.
After those 4, because Oregon and Indiana are undefeated, Penn State and Ohio State each have a loss. After that, Iowa's next with 4 losses. So that's it. Okay? There's nobody below that line that can make it. Simple. Now we get to the SEC, because the 2 power conferences, the Power 2 conferences, they're the ones that you have to have they're going to get, quote, the lion's share of the at-large bids. So let's look at the SEC. You have 7 schools with 2 losses or fewer. 5 of them have 2 losses. 2 have 1 loss. Tennessee and Texas are the 2 with 1 loss. Tennessee has to play at Georgia this week. Okay. And they also still have to play Vanderbilt. Right? Vanderbilt under the category of not bad. So then we look at Texas. They still have to play Texas A&M. And Texas A&M is one of those, just like Georgia's a 2-loss team, Texas A&M is a 2-loss team. So you are in a position now where Tennessee can throw Georgia into the 3-loss category, and they're out. Oh, no, they're out. Okay, let's use some common sense here. Okay, the pool of 0, 1, and 2 loss teams is too great. You have 3, you're not in. If Georgia beats Tennessee, now Tennessee's in the 2-loss pool. Their losses would be Georgia and Arkansas, both on the road. Georgia's losses would be to Ole Miss, pretty good, right? And Alabama, pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay. Texas A&M has 2 losses. Right? One of them is to Notre Dame, which is hanging in all this. And Notre Dame's schedule is not exactly burdensome. It's not exactly burdensome.
To their credit, they scheduled teams, just didn't expect those teams to be so poor.
They didn't schedule. No. The ACC games are assigned. They are not scheduled.
No, but they still had. They still toughen their schedule as best as they can. I give them credit.
Against who?
They played Ohio State last year. Played Georgia.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this year. This is about this year. That schedule they have this year is not. Okay. They got Stanford.
Yeah.
Which they always play. They've got Army and Navy, which they always play.
Yeah.
And I know they're having good years, but please.
Yeah. No, that wasn't.
Let's not go overboard here.
No.
Okay. They played at Texas A&M.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and won.
Tough game.
Won. Their ACC games are not.
No, and
I mean they just beat Florida State, which is 1 and what 9,
exactly
1 and 8.
But they did. You don't expect coming into the year that Florida State is going to be 1-9.
But you have to go with what they are.
Them. Exactly. Sure.
You have to go with what they are.
Sure, yeah. Straight the schedule is going to, it's going to hurt it this year, absolutely. I'm just saying, from a Notre Dame perspective of what they are given, they did not expect Florida State to be 1.
That's one of the issues that Indiana has.
Yeah, absolutely.
Their strength of schedule is 102. Yee. Okay.
They almost have to win that game in 2 weeks. Almost have to win it for them to be. I think as a 1-loss Indiana team, I think you're probably in, but you're going to get a very low seed.
Well, I'm just saying, though, it's just something to keep in mind as this plays out. Now, Penn State's got to keep winning.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
They got to keep winning.
Sure.
They cannot, if they fall into the 2-loss pool, they get into the opinion pool, and then I don't know what's going to happen at that point. Nobody does. So that's where we are with this. We are now up to the elimination games. Alabama eliminated LSU.
Mm-hmm.
Texas has a chance to eliminate Texas A&M. Tennessee has a chance to eliminate Georgia. Okay. Also, but Ole Miss kept itself in it, and Ole Miss is in great shape.
They're in very good shape.
Their schedule now falls beautifully for them.
Absolutely.
I mean, Mississippi State's the worst team in the SEC.
Yep, they're awful. Rivalry game, you do throw the records out, but I think they're absolutely a heavy favorite in that game. They're going to win that
rivalry game. They're going to blah blah blah. Cut me a break. They're going to blow that team off the field. That's not even going to be a competitive game.
No,
I'll watch some of it.
Yeah,
is that on Thanksgiving night? Or?
Usually is the Egg Bowl. Yep, usually is.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I think.
But this is where we are with that. Now let's get to the part about the conference champions. The Big Ten and the SEC conference champions are absolutely automatic. They're going to get by.
Right.
Here's where it gets tricky. What if Miami loses again? They've been on the cusp of it for weeks, and finally were beaten by Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, by the way, is a good team. But let's not say they lost to a bad team. That's a good team. But what if they find another loss? Clemson already has losses.
Yep.
All right. But what if Clemson plays Miami in the championship game and Clemson wins? Here's one for you. And what about BYU? What if they lose in the Big 12 championship game? And say it's Colorado. I don't know what the standings are. Say it was Colorado that beat them. And Boise State runs the table, including the Mountain West championship game. A group of 5 team is going to get an automatic bid.
Mm-hmm.
that would be Boise State.
Yeah.
And in the rankings, there would be an excellent chance they would be ranked higher than Clemson and ranked higher than Colorado, for example.
Right.
Just we're playing a game here. Guess who gets the bye?
Yeah.
Boise State does.
No doubt. Yeah.
So you could have a Power 4 conference champion having to play a first-round game.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, would maybe play the first-round game on the road.
On the road. Absolutely. Yeah, no doubt about it. And
they wouldn't be ranked in the top 8.
No, nor should they be. No, and that's the ACC has become very interesting. Yeah, Miami, as you said, I think they played with fire how many times? They should have lost a couple of games. Now they do have a loss. And you look at if they lose again, sure, you're going to have an ACC champion that's got a minimum 2 losses. And no doubt about it. You don't have them in the first round bye. No. And, yeah, BYU, same thing. Struggled with Utah. Probably should have lost that game. And now you start to wonder when you look at it, yeah, BYU does falter from a college football playoff perspective, ratings perspective. I don't think they'd object too much to Colorado being in there. But I think when you look at, what you're doing with the first round bye, Boise State definitely positions themselves. They run the table to take it.
See, that's where, for those who are assuming that the 4 Power 4 conference champions are get the first round bye, that's not true. It's the 4 highest ranked conference champions. So, for example, if it were to be Boise State and they don't lose another game the rest of the season, and they are sitting at 12-1 because they have the Mountain West Championship game as their 12th win. And they might be a team that suddenly out of nowhere, they get the first round bye. And they'd go to, I don't know, my guess would be they'd go to the Fiesta Bowl or something like that.
Yeah, I believe they
try to regionalize.
Yeah, they're going to try to regionalize. They're going to try and do similar to, like, conferences are going to match up with what you normally match up with.
Right.
Big Ten Rose Bowl.
Right. Say, for example, Oregon won the Big Ten.
Yeah.
They'd go to the Rose Bowl, right, as a quarterfinal. You would think the SEC champion would end up in the Sugar Bowl.
Yep.
And then the Peach Bowl would get whomever.
Yeah, it'd be at large for the most part. And I think that's why you're seeing Peach Bowl committee obviously was here on.
Well, the Peach Bowl also has the national championship game.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I talked to Gary. I talked to Gary Stoke, and we talked about this. Saw Gary earlier this year, and we were talking about it. So, because you have to bid for that. And that's where we are right now. We're talking about 7 schools in the SEC. Okay, 5 of them have 2 losses, 2 have 1 loss. Now, one of the 2 lost teams happens to be Missouri. They're really not a factor in this, but it is interesting to see the numbers. But they're not really a factor, right? Because they're 24, I think, or something like that in the college football playoff ranking. And 24 is too far to come from behind with 3 to play.
No.
Okay, and that's where we are. That's what makes this so dramatic.
The ironic part of all of it, I watched a little bit of Game Day last week, and you look at, listed out, here's what could happen in the SEC. They listed 7 games, and if all happened, there'd be an 8-way tie for first place. The only one that did not happen was Texas-Florida. Was Florida beating Texas. Everything else on that list happened. Yeah. The SEC is definitely up in the air at this point, and I think you're absolutely right. 3 losses are not going to get you in at this point. With everybody jockeying for position the way they are, I don't see any way 3 losses, no matter who you are. You could be Alabama, you could be Georgia. I don't see you getting in.
So let's talk about why the concentration on the Big Ten and the SEC. And, why not somebody else? Sorry.
Yeah, agreed.
Hey, there's a reason.
Yeah.
When Texas and Oklahoma went to the SEC, the depth of that conference increased dramatically. Now, Oklahoma may be a 500 team, but it's still Oklahoma.
It's still a brand and a quality, though.
It's not just a brand, but they're okay. They look like they're a mediocre football team because they're playing in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's why.
Yeah.
Hey, home loss to Tennessee, things like that. Their record is what it. Oh, they're bad. Actually, no, they're not.
No,
they would be, by the way, competing for the top of the Big 12.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Same thing in the Big 10. Oh, USC's not good. USC's actually pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Washington's not good. Actually, Washington's pretty good. Okay. UCLA's getting better.
Yeah, UCLA is
right?
definitely. Which
and Oregon's great.
Yeah.
But as I said in the offseason, Steve Sarkisian, Brett Venables, okay, Porter Moser, right? Their jobs all got more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody in the SEC, their job got more difficult. In the Big Ten, Dan Lanning, Dana Altman, Danny Sprinkle, Jed Fish, Mick Cronin, okay? Deshaun Foster, Lincoln Riley, Eric Musselman. Their jobs all got tougher.
Absolutely.
Conversely, the other 14 schools and their coaches in football and basketball, their jobs all got tougher because the depth of the conference got greater. And there are very few easy outs in the SEC or the Big Ten. Okay, you're seeing wins being racked up and like, oh, God, well, that was only a 7 to 10 point game. No kidding. Okay, the days of when you're in conference play, hey, we won 60-0, I feel great. Those days aren't happening.
Nope.
Okay, because the depth of talent in the two power conferences, okay, they're just very few along the way gimmies. I talk about Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Mississippi State's really, really struggling. I mean, they've got one win or something like that. Okay, but everybody else, those are all good wins. As much as they complain about all the Auburn thing's interesting. Hugh Freeze's record through this same point is the exact same as Brian Harson's.
Really?
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Interesting. But that's...
Hugh's track record is not exactly the same as Brian Harsin.
Right. I agree. But Florida's bad. Florida's not that bad. Okay, Florida's got a quarterback issue. I mean, they're trying to work because because Mertz is out for the year, Lagway has been hurt, and so forth. Okay, but there's a depth, there's a quality of depth in each of the two Power 2 conferences. Because guess what? At the end of the day, what's everybody's record at the end of the season when you take each team? You put it all together. It comes out to be 500.
500, yeah.
So somebody's got to be at the top, and somebody's got to be at the bottom and in the middle, where it all equals out to 500. Because everybody, you have a winner or a loser.
Right.
But that doesn't mean the quality of the depth isn't there. Like, Washington's a good football team. Right? Penn State did a great job in them. Jonah Coleman came in averaging 103 yards per game. Number 1 in the nation in yards after contact. Number 1. Penn State held him to 24 yards.
Yeah, was not the leading rusher in that team.
Right. But they held him to 11 carries, 24 yards.
Yeah.
That's great defense against a guy that's been piling up numbers in the Big Ten against other quality defenses. Right? That was a great win for Penn State.
Yeah.
Right? Now, is it going to shape the national, they beat Washington? No. The perception of it is going to be, they won at home, it's great, win the whiteout, the whole thing. Okay, I got that. I understand that completely. But it doesn't mean it wasn't a good win. That's a good team. I'm going to see what they do with UCLA Friday night. I mean, they got ripped off in all this because they had to go to Harrisburg after the game, take the flight back, probably got back to Seattle about 7 in the morning Pacific time, and they got to play Friday night. Now, it's at home, but they got to play Friday night against the UCLA team that's, guess what, playing much better.
A lot better.
It's almost like that final drive, that 8-minute drive, was it's 27-3. Penn State's they're in charge. Penn State's got the 2s and 3s out there. Boom, 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 boom. 8 minutes went down the field. Like, okay, scored. Then they got the 2-point conversion. I looked over at Jack. I said, you want to tell you something insane? I says, after doing all that, there's 16 seconds left. I said, I'll bet you out they kick an onside kick, which they did. I think Holsworth recovered it. Like, why? It's like, why? There's 16 seconds left. What do you expect to accomplish here? But they've been, since that point, UCLA's played good football.
A lot better. Yep.
All right. USC, they're having an awful year. They're having an awful year because guess what? The competition is so good. And they're part of the good competition. They're part of it. It's like, people are taking, it's too easy to look at records and say, wow, that team's not good. That team's not bad. It's like, might be a little bit better than you realize because the depth of the league is so different. And travel has made a difference.
Absolutely.
Travel in this conference has made a difference. Teams going... Hold on a second. I have to straighten out something.
Huh.
How do you spell your last name?
Believe it or not, despite it only being 4 letters, people screw it up.
No. I just want to make sure on spell check that I get fired correctly.
That's right.
All right, now I got to straighten this out.
Yeah, to your point, absolutely. Though, and in terms of the road schedule's gotten a lot tougher. The Big Ten has done a great job of scheduling in the sense that, especially once we hit these winter sports, well, we already have, but now once you hit the conference play where you are doing your best to schedule USC, UCLA back to back, so you're not making these teams travel multiple times to the same location for the most part, or the same coast. And I think for the most part, they've done an exceptional job with that so far. And we'll see how it plays out.
Right. There you go. Let's see if I can get everybody squared away here on flights. I've got to do like everything. I got to make sure they're on the right flights, the right whatever. So need a talk show host for the week of Thanksgiving. Nobody's available. So I requested changing the night of it.
Yeah, that makes the most sense.
That's why I'm here.
That's right.
I said, you're going to have to move it to Monday. Brian Tripp can do it because I can't do either one.
Yeah.
I'm in Daytona. Putnam's in Daytona.
That's true.
I know it is. Yeah, I know. That's why I said it. Right. Tripp has a hockey game on Tuesday, but he's free Monday.
Yeah, Monday. Yeah.
And we have time to move it. Now's the time to do it. I'm not in charge of anything, but I'm in charge of stuff. I'm not in charge of anything. I'm barely in charge of me. Right? Crazy.
Yeah, it's always a crazy week to begin with. It feels like it comes up on you quick. Yeah,
Thanksgiving?
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I've got everything else under control.
Yeah.
But I have to make sure that I've got other people taken care of.
That's always the same boat in the radio buildings. Only that one falls into the week when we hit the Fridays and Saturdays and saying, "Hey, this game's here. This game's here. Who's available?"
Yeah,
crickets.
Yeah,
this game's here and this game's here. We're on location. Who's available in the studio? Crickets.
Yeah. Well, I've got. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Response. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay. Yeah, you can talk here if you want.
But yeah, just touching to your point, just how I think you look at people look at records only, and and it's not the entire story. You go on the road to USC, that is a tough win, no matter who you are. There's no question about it. You go to Ann Arbor with how much they're struggling this year.
It's still good.
Yeah, exactly. You win, and especially from a Texas perspective. You go on the road to Ann Arbor in a different time zone early in the season. That is a tough task, and you go out there and win impressively. Absolutely, it is a tough game. I don't care what the record is.
Right.
Yeah, there's no question about that. It is not easy at all when you look at it from a record perspective, and that has to be taken into consideration without a doubt, what conference you're in. And when you look at what conference you're in, you look at quality of opponent. The Big Ten and the SEC are the two that are at the top of the list, and that's the case. That's how it will be for, to me, the not too distant, for me, a long time. I think when you look at it the next couple of years, I don't see anything changing. I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it's going to change. At some point, this will get to be, on the playoff side of it, it will get to be 14 at some point.
The playoff 14 to 16, you mean? Or
I think it'll go to 14
first.
With the idea, I think the Big Ten and the SEC, and I've only loosely talked about this, but the idea of 4 automatic bids.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it
which would include 2 conference champions. You're talking about 3 at-larges after that.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not talking about.
Yeah.
Right. So you would be talking what the at-large pool would be 10.
Yeah.
So 6 of the 10 would be Big Ten SEC.
Yeah, the other thing, and I don't know because I don't know, I'm not around, obviously any other school whatsoever. But you also sort of wonder, these schools that get those buys, do they maybe want to look and say, hey, we're missing out on $4 million to host that first round game in our stadium?
Well, okay.
And the other part of it is that
to be honest with you,
game.
This is what people don't realize. Hosting it is not the bonanza people think it is. The college football playoff is in charge of the tickets.
Right.
Okay, it's their baby. Now the towns, the towns that host will benefit tremendously.
Absolutely, that's what I'm looking at.
Penn State. Say Penn State, for example.
Yep.
It's a $16 million impact each weekend. Well, you'd have the same impact if that were to happen. Got to get there first. Got 3 more big games to get there.
Absolutely.
But I'm just saying, the college football playoff, they're in charge of the tickets, the pricing. Georgia, for example, I'll tell you what Georgia said. Ooh. Okay. So the Georgia situation is, say, for example, Jason Lord, mega donor.
Right. And seed holder. I think they're looking at that too.
If you have 4 season tickets, you have, and you want to go to the game, you have to buy your 4.
All 4. Yep.
You can't buy 2.
Yeah. Yeah, they were the first really to release anything about it about 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Ironically enough, they may or may not be there, but they were the first to.
Right. That's what they put out there. I think that most people will follow that blueprint.
I think so too. Yeah, I agree.
Right. So you have 4 tickets. All right. Well, we only need 2. Only 2 people want to buy all 4. If you don't buy all 4, you forfeit them. I'm just saying that's how Georgia put it out there.
And it's easier for the schools. I know they don't have a lot to do with in terms of the pricing and everything else.
They have zero to do with
it. Absolutely.
0.
But I think it also is more beneficial for them to know, okay, this is our allotment and this is what we can allot entirely. This is how we have to operate it, rather than you get
right of first refusal in your
absolutely
seats.
And you go on a list of names as opposed to a list of how many seats that name needs. It's a lot. I don't want to say it's a lot easier. It's easier if you do it from that way. And I think that is probably the way that people are going to do it. I agree with you. I think it's a smart way to do it.
Yeah, and they're at least the first ones to put it out.
Yeah. It's the same thing. To my knowledge, I think it's the same thing with the NFL playoffs when you're a season ticket holder and you have the right to a ticket. Yeah, it's the same exact way. You've got to buy what you have in your seats or you don't get them.
Very quickly, John Robinson and Jerry Faust both passed away at the age of 89. Jerry Faust was the head coach at Cincinnati Moeller, powerhouse high school, and always a dream to get about getting the Notre Dame job, which he did. And he, to the day he died, he loved Notre Dame. I think he was, 30, 26-1 or something like that. It's a real mix there. I know that, Penn State played them 5 times when he was the head coach, and he was 1-4 against Penn State. The one was 1984 with Steve Berline at quarterback. And he couldn't get any traction of winning, but he loved the place. Just loved it. It meant everything to him to be the head coach at Notre Dame. It meant everything to him that he could, for his entire life, say that he was the head coach at Notre Dame. John Robinson went to school with John Madden. Right? Close friends growing up. And Robinson then was able to get onto eventually John McKay's staff, elevate, become the head coach. Then he went to the Rams and utilized Eric Dickerson to get 2,100 yards rushing. Then he went back to USC and was a great coach. I mean, really was. You know, he understood how to utilize personnel. He understood the value of the running game based on who he had. And there's the great story, and I told this story the week Penn State went out to USC, but I'll retell it. For people who realize there's only one, it's a huge tunnel, by the way. It's not like Michigan, like where it's like, it's a little,
trying to squeeze between each other and getting into fights.
The tunnel's huge there, and it's in the corner of the end zone. And from the broadcast booth, it's the left corner. The 2 locker rooms are side by side. I mean, like, side by side. So USC is going to play Notre Dame. And Jerry Faust is in the Notre Dame locker room, and he's giving it the fire and brimstone Newt Rockne speech to his team. Notre Dame tradition, Notre Dame national champions, the tradition, Notre Dame Heisman Trophy winners, the tradition, Notre Dame, the gold helmets, tradition. He's going, right? The Golden Dome, tradition. He's like, the tradition of Notre Dame, let's go. Let's uphold the tradition of Notre Dame. Hey, they go, charge it out. Yeah. Meanwhile, USC sitting there listening to all this. Then Notre Dame runs out on the field of the Coliseum. Everything settles down. John Robinson gets up. He says, all right, man, you heard a lot about the Notre Dame tradition. Well, here's the tradition, part of the tradition he didn't tell you about. They never win here. Let's kill them.
Nice.
That's all he said.
Nice.
By the way, there were a couple of other words added in there. I gave you the G version. They never win here. All right. Well, you did a great job of fouling this up today.
I tried my best.
That's what bothers me. You don't even try. It just seems to naturally happen. Golly. Killing me. All right. We'll have some interviews tomorrow. We're going to have Mike Porman tomorrow, Neil Coulong tomorrow. I'll be back. Are you back on Thursday?
I think it's Mr. Left Thursday.
Oh, a chance at ratings.
That's right.